Dear viewers, I welcome you to this next session of our discussion on the topic uh, conformity tests for acid radicals. I address you as viewers because my viewers may include my dear students and my colleagues in the faculties of various institutions also. So please don't mind. Well, in this episode, I'll be discussing with you the confirmatory tests of various acid radicals. We had discussed in earlier lecture the identification tests and their chemistry, and then in this today's discussion, we'll be discussing the confirmatory tests of various acid radicals, that is carbonate, bicarbonate, sulfite, thiosulfate, and nitrite, and the chemistry behind these tests. I hope this will give you an insight into various tests. Here I would like to mention that since, as I mentioned in the very first lecture, that we are keeping it very fundamental, because very fundamental knowledge is not there to our students. So there's, of course, I mentioned earlier also that there's no end to the discussion on salt analysis, but primarily I am limiting myself to the limited and the basic discussion on the topic. So let's discuss the confirmatory tests of the acid radicals detected with dilute H2SO4 test and the chemistry behind that. So confirmatory tests for acid radicals. अब हम कौन कौन से कर रहे हैं? We are doing the confirmatory test for the radicals to be detected with dilute H2SO4, that is again carbonate, bicarbonate, sulfide, sulfite, thiosulfate, and nitrite. Now, for this test, dilute sulfuric acid test, as I mentioned in the earlier lecture also, that dilute sulfuric acid and concentrated sulfuric acid tests, these are preliminary tests. In order to perform the confirmatory tests, we have to have the salt in the soluble form. Because if we are to do the confirmatory test of a radical, it must be present in the solution. So now the question arises that how to make the salt soluble. You see, there are three types of solutions which we use for the analysis of the acid radicals. First is salt solution. Salt solution means we take about 1 to 2 grams of the salt and we shake with about 5 to 10 milliliters of distilled water, warm a little, and the salt dissolves. For example, if we have got the salt mixture of KNO2 and CuSO4, both these salts are water soluble. So if we have this, then we'll shake the salt with water and it will be soluble and it will be salt solution. Now, sometimes what happens that the salt doesn't dissolve completely. For example, we have got the salt again NO2 plus cadmium sulfide. This salt mixture will not be soluble in water. However, a part of this will be water soluble. So in that case, what we prepare is water extract. Water extract, WE. Extract means to bring out something out of a number of things. So here water extract means that water will bring out the soluble portion out of the salt mixture into it. So in this case, what happens? Again, the same thing, about 1 to 2 grams of the salt. We take about 10 milliliters of water, we shake it, then we warm it a little. Salt will not be completely soluble. Then this suspension is filtered. And the filtrate thus collected is known as water extract, or WE. So this is the second solution which we use in the confirmation of acid radicals. And the third solution which usually we use is that is soda extract or sodium carbonate extract, abbreviated as SE. Now, what does it mean? As I mentioned earlier, that our aim is to make the acid radical water soluble. When we perform the test for basic radicals, then our aim is to dissolve the salt somehow in dilute in, say, water, hot water, then dilute HCl, consume HCl, and so on. We don't care whether the acid radical is intact or broken. But here, we'll have to take care that acid radical is not destroyed. So in that case, for making the salt soluble, we cannot treat with HCl, HNO3, etc. What do we do is, we prepare soda extract. What soda extract is? That we take again 1 to 2 grams of the salt mixture, and we mix about double the amount of sodium carbonate. Take this mixture in a china dish or in a flask, add about 10 to 15 milliliter of water, and we heat or boil for about 10 minutes. Then we filter it. Then again, we may not be getting full solution. All the ingredients may not be soluble, but after this, we filter, and the filtrate is known as soda extract or sodium carbonate extract. Now, why we perform this operation? Most of the salts, say you may call more than 95% or even more, salts of alkali metal are water soluble. So here we are treating this salt mixture with sodium carbonate and then boiling, facilitating the double displacement. So as a result of double displacement, the insoluble radical, acid radical, comes in contact with sodium. For example, again we take the case of, let us say, we have got cadmium sulfide. Cadmium sulfide is insoluble. We prepare sodium carbonate extract by adopting the usual procedure. Double displacement takes place. We get the formation of Na2S plus cadmium carbonate. So cadmium carbonate again is a solid that remains there, and sulfide ion comes here and this becomes soluble, and now we can perform the usual tests by taking this soda extract or sodium carbonate extract. Now, while performing the conformity tests with sodium carbonate extract, we have to take a little care also. Why? We have seen here that this cadmium sulfide got converted to this, cadmium carbonate is there, but there must be some unreacted sodium carbonate also. So we'll have to first decompose it. So usually what happens that whenever we use sodium carbonate extract as a solution for performing the conformity tests, we acidify that 1 or 2 milliliter of sodium carbonate extract with dilute acetic acid usually, and sometimes with dilute HNO3 also. We heat for some time, boil a little, so as to decompose the undecomposed carbonates there. Then after that, that solution becomes now ready for performing various tests. Now, this was basically the solutions which we require while performing the conformity tests. Now, we come over to the conformity tests as such. So, first of all, again, we come over to, first is carbonates and bicarbonates. All bicarbonates are soluble in water. However, in case of carbonates, only alkali metal carbonates and ammonium, etc., they are soluble in water. Other carbonates are not soluble in water. So in that case, we have to take them separately. That is insoluble carbonate, and second category will be soluble carbonates and bicarbonates. So first of all is insoluble carbonate. For example, we take the case of calcium carbonate. This is not soluble in water. So first operation again will be, we are to treat this salt mixture containing, say, this cadmium carbonate with water. As usual, I said that carbonate is insoluble. It will not be soluble. Then we filter that suspension and we get one filtrate and one residue. Now, since our preliminary test has indicated carbonate, because of evolution of carbon dioxide gas with dilute H2SO4, so naturally carbonate is present, but whether it is soluble or insoluble, that we'll have to see. So how can we check? We add a few drops of dilute H2SO4 to the residue, because if carbonate is insoluble, it must be present in the residue. So then, in case of insoluble carbonates, the carbon dioxide gas will be evolved from the residue. So that will confirm that insoluble carbonate is there. But suppose, now, second, we take the case of soluble carbonate, bicarbonate. Now, as I said earlier, that we are to shake the salt with water and it is not soluble, then we are to say divide it into two parts. One is residue, the other is solution. We added a few drops of H2SO4 to the residue. We did not get any gas. Although we had got carbon dioxide gas in the dilute H2SO4 test. Then the chance is that it may be soluble carbonate or bicarbonate. Then how do we come to know? To that filtrate, we add a few drops of dilute H2SO4. If soluble carbonate or bicarbonate, both or any of the two is present, it will give carbon dioxide gas. Now question arises that is it soluble carbonate or bicarbonate? So we'll have to make a distinction. That distinction we make with the help of magnesium sulfate test. What this magnesium sulfate test is? You know, magnesium sulfate is soluble in water. We take that a portion of that filtrate, that is the solution, which may contain soluble carbonate or bicarbonate, and to it we add small amount of say a milliliter or so of magnesium sulfate solution. If we have got carbonate, let us say sodium carbonate, we add magnesium sulfate into it, we get magnesium carbonate and sodium sulfate. Sodium sulfate is soluble in water. What we'll get? A white precipitate here. So if we get white precipitate in cold, then it will be soluble carbonate. But if we do not get white precipitate with magnesium sulfate in cold, then it may be bicarbonate. How? So suppose we have got this is sodium bicarbonate. We add magnesium sulfate to it. We get the formation of magnesium bicarbonate plus sodium sulfate. And this is soluble. Matlab, there is no precipitate formation. Then we heat this. When heat this, then we get the formation of magnesium carbonate plus carbon dioxide plus water, and this is a white PPT. So what the test is? That to the soluble part of the carbonate or bicarbonate, we add magnesium sulfate solution. If we get white precipitate in cold, it is soluble carbonate. If we do not get white precipitate in cold, then we heat it. And if upon heating the white precipitate appears, that indicates the presence of bicarbonate. So this is how we are to confirm the presence of insoluble carbonate or soluble carbonate or bicarbonate. Now next we come over to sulfide. Sulfide has been detected or indicated with dilute H2SO4 test. That is a colorless gas coming out with smell like that of rotten eggs. Now we have to confirm this, the presence of sulfide with conformity test. And first test is again the same which we performed, that lead acetate paper. Now we'll be doing with the lead acetate solution. So it is lead acetate test. We have got, now one more thing. As I said that our sulfide may not be present in water solution. It may be present in soda extract. If it is present in soda extract, then we'll have to first decompose the unreacted carbonates with acetic acid. So take 1 to 2 milliliter of the soda extract SC and add a few drops of acetic acid, heat a little, let the evolving gases cease, and after that add lead acetate to this. So we have got sodium sulfide. Why sodium sulfide? In soda extract we will be getting sodium sulfide only. So sodium sulfide plus lead acetate. This is lead acetate solution in water. Clear solution. Again, double displacement takes place. We get the formation of lead sulfide. It's a black precipitate. Plus, of course, sodium acetate, 2 molecules. So, if an addition of acetic acid followed by the addition of lead acetate solution, the solution gives black precipitate, it confirms the presence of sulfide. Now, second test for sulfide is this is sodium nitroprusside test. What this test is? To the salt solution, we add a few drops of sodium nitroprusside solution. Sodium nitroprusside is this Na2 FeCN5NO. This is sodium nitroprusside. We add sulfide to it. Then we get the formation of a complex, addition complex, which is called adduct. That is, Na2 will be added here and sulfur or sulfide ion will get inside. So this complex is of purple color. So what the test is? That to the salt solution, maybe salt solution or maybe your soda extract, we add a few drops of acetic acid, heat it, cool it, then we add sodium nitroprusside. If purple coloration appears, it indicates that sulfide is present. So this is a conformity test of another conformity test of sulfide. Now we come over to sulfide. Sulfide, this is SO32 negative. Now in case of sulfide also, there are few sulfides which are soluble in water, otherwise they are not soluble. So we perform this test for sulfide with soda extract only. So as usual, we take about 1 or 2 milliliter of soda extract. We add a few drops of acetic acid. We heat it and then we add a few drops of, say, about 1 milliliter of barium chloride solution in water. If sulfite is present, then we'll get white precipitate. And this white precipitate will be soluble in dilute HCl. So see what happens. We have got Na2SO3. This is salt solution oblique SC. In this, we add barium chloride. We get the formation of barium sulfite plus 2 NaCl, and this barium sulfite is a white precipitate. When we treat this white precipitate of barium sulfite with HCl, then it decomposes it, forming barium chloride plus sulfur dioxide plus water. Okay. So this is soluble. So test is that this gives white precipitate with barium chloride, which is soluble in dilute HCl. So this was barium chloride. Then another test for this is again the same potassium dichromate test, but I'll be giving you another test, that is potassium permanganate test. So second test is KMnO4 test. We have got some sulfite, again salt solution oblique SC, treated with H2SO4 will give us Na2SO4 plus sulfur dioxide plus water. As we wrote earlier, in case of potassium dichromate test, acidified KMnO4 is also an oxidizing agent. So what we take is, we take about 1 milliliter of KMnO4, we add dilute H2SO4 to it, it becomes acidified KMnO4. So the equation for that is 2 KMnO4 plus 3 H2SO4. That gives us K2SO4 plus 2 MnSO4 plus 3 H2O plus 5 O. Then again, this nascent oxygen combined with sulfur dioxide. This will give you H2SO4. Now, I'm not balancing this equation. I simply want to make you understand that acidified KMnO4 liberates nascent oxygen. And this nascent oxygen is an oxidizing agent. And as mentioned earlier, sulfur dioxide is a reducing agent or oxidizable material. So this sulfur dioxide gets oxidized with this nascent oxygen to give us sulfuric acid, and resulting into the forward reaction in this case. You know KMnO4, all of you know about KMnO4, this is purple colored. Purple in color. Potassium sulfate is colorless. Manganese sulfate is very, very faintly pinkish. It is almost colorless. So purple colored KMnO4 gets converted into nearly colorless magnesium sulfate and potassium sulfate. So result is, the test is, it decolorizes the acidified KMnO4. So test is that sulfur dioxide has evolved when passed through acidified KMnO4 solution. The KMnO4 solution turns colorless or it gets decolorized. So this is the second test for sulfite. Now two tests are left. One is thiosulfate. So thiosulfate S2O3 2 negative. Indication only you know that when a thiosulfate is treated with dilute H2SO4, you get the liberation of sulfur dioxide gas with the precipitation of sulfur. Now sulfur dioxide gas you can detect with usual tests, but here we'll be giving you some two different tests to confirm thiosulfate. First test is iodine test. Iodine test. What happens? We take sodium thiosulfate. This is present in, again, salt solution, oblique SC. We treat with acetic acid, decompose the undecomposed carbonates, and to this solution, what we add is we add iodine solution. All of you know iodine is a deep bluish violet. Bluish violet. What happens if thiosulfate is present? Then we get the formation of sodium tetrathionate plus of course sodium iodide, and both these compounds are colorless. It means test is that in thiosulfate, if we add deep blue violet iodine solution, it gets decolorized or the solution becomes colorless, indicating thereby that thiosulfate is present. And another test for thiosulfate is silver nitrate test. AgNO3 test. Again, we have got sodium thiosulfate, again salt solution, oblique SC, then addition of acetic acid to decompose the undecomposed carbonates, and to this we add silver nitrate solution in water. You know, silver nitrate solution in water is water soluble, it's colorless. What do we get is we get the formation of we take 2 of this and we get the formation of 2 of NaNO3. And this is a white precipitate. And it's very interesting regarding this test. What happens that this precipitate undergoes structural changes and changes its color into yellow, then orange, and finally it gets black, and it gets black due to the formation of silver sulfide. So this on storing changes into silver sulfide, which is black. So our test will be that to the soda extract containing sodium thiosulfate, of course with acetic acid treatment, we add silver nitrate solution in water, we get white precipitate which gradually changes into yellow, orange, and finally it gets black. So this is silver nitrate test. And last of all, in this category, we come across a radical which is nitrite. One test for nitrite again is that nitrosoferrous sulfate. We have already done it. That in that case also, what happens, you see, nitrites are soluble in water. So this you can perform with water extract. We'll get nitrite. We treat this as sulfuric acid, diluted SO4. This will give us, we take 2 of this, we get the formation. We have written this equation earlier. Plus we get 2HNO3, 2HNO2. 2HNO2 will give us ultimately a molecule of HNO3 plus 2 molecules of this NO plus of course water. And this NO, when made to react with acidified ferrous sulfate solution, acidified ferrous sulfate solution, this will give us FeSO4.NO, that is nitrosoferrous sulfate. and this is brownish black. Brownish black. So what this test is, that to the water extract, we add a few drops of dilute H2SO4 and followed by the addition of acidified ferrous sulfate solution, freshly prepared ferrous sulfate solution to it. That freshly prepared ferrous sulfate solution will turn dark brownish or black to the formation of this. So this is the ferrous sulfate test for nitrite. And then another test for nitrite is Ki test, Ki/starch test. We take salt solution, so let us say NaNO2. We add H2SO4 to it. This will give you Na2SO4 plus 2HNO2. This 2HNO2 will decompose to give you water plus 2NO. Now we have added Ki. This Ki in the presence of H2SO4, which we have already added, will give us KHSO4. You can have one also if we have to make K plus H2SO4. This will give you KHSO4 plus Hi. And this Hi will get oxidized to iodine plus water, and this iodine thus liberated will combine with starch to give you starch iodine complex, which is bluish, blackish bluish, blackish in color. So what the test is, that to the given nitrite solution we add sulfuric acid, a few drops of dilute H2SO4, followed by the addition of about 1 or 2 milliliter of Ki solution and 2-3 drops of starch. Nitrite on reaction with dilute H2SO4 gives us nitrous acid. Nitrous acid decomposes to give us NO. Plus, of course, here we have missed one thing. This nascent oxygen, and this nascent oxygen combined with Hi. From where did we get Hi? The Ki which we added reacted with sulfuric acid to give us Hi. And Hi got oxidized with nascent oxygen to give you liberating iodine. Liberated iodine will combine with starch solution, and this will give us bluish, blackish color, which confirms the presence of nitrite. So, to sum up, today we discussed the confirmatory tests for acid radicals which had been identified or detected with dilute H2SO4 test. And one thing which is common even for confirmatory tests for concentrated sulfuric acid radicals also, that is about the solution of the salt. So regarding that, I said that it may be water solution, it may be water extract, or if the salt is not soluble, so as to make the acid radical soluble, we'll have to convert it into its sodium salt, and for that we have to prepare soda extract. Then of course soda extract, in case of soda extract, unconsumed sodium carbonate and other such things can be decomposed by the addition of a mild acid which doesn't attack the acid radical, that is, say, dilute acetic acid, and with that, by performing these tests, we can confirm the presence of acid radicals. So, in the next episode, when we meet, we'll be discussing the concentrated H2SO4 test and the confirmatory tests for the confirmation of acid radicals which have been detected with the help of the concentrated H2SO4 test. So thank you very, very much. I hope by understanding these things, the systematic acid radical analysis or the salt analysis as a whole will become easier for you people. So once again, thank you very much.